Martin Varavola agus fáilte arás gan blog acham nó fáilte me ha uair an channel seo agus is me sé réidir an dúirt me sin. Anyway, good morning everyone. I'm Rachel and welcome back to my blog, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. And this is now the third episode and tresaf of Reddit answers Quora's questions about Gaelic. This is from the Quora section Gaelic, which I'm pronouncing Gaelic, but I suspect that a lot of the people asking the questions were pronouncing it Gaelic. And again, I'm going to warn you that don't go looking up Quora's questions on Gaelic if you're a Gaelic speaker, because unless you really feel comfortable and confident and in a decent frame of mind, because some of them are quite, some of the questions and especially some of the answers are quite hateful and quite triggering and quite frustrating, and yeah, just best not to go seeking that out if you're already dealing with it on Twitter. So, Kesh what are the differences between the Scots language and the Scottish Gaelic language? What aren't the differences between the Scots language and the Scottish Gaelic language? The similarities between them are basically that they are both Indo-European languages. Now, Indo-European is a language family that includes languages reaching from India to Europe, as the name suggests. So, Hindi, Sanskrit, Persian, Russian, Greek, Italian, English, these are all Indo-European languages, and Gaelic is as well. However, Indo-European has subfamilies such as, I'm not familiar with the language families that are not from Europe, so I'm not going to touch them because I will get the names of the language families wrong, but that does include Slavic, Germanic, Romance, and Celtic. I think they're and Greek. Is Greek a language family of its own? Anyway, they're the main language families, sub-language families of Indo-European in Europe. So Scots is a Germanic language, and Scottish Gaelic is a Celtic language, which means they are related, but it means they are only as related as English and Russian. So Scots is the closest language to English, and they had a common ancestor, I want to say fairly recently, like 500 or 600 years, maybe. I'm not an expert on Germanic languages. If you're interested in that, check out Simon Roper's channel, because he's all about the Old English and the Germanic languages. Whereas Scottish Gaelic is most closely related to Manx and Irish, with whom that had a common ancestor about 1,000 years ago. So Scots and Scottish Gaelic have borrowed some vocabulary from each other over the years. So Scots has borrowed words like rai, clown, brog, sporan. Trying to think of other words. And Gaelic has borrowed words like press, pierce, polis. There's a lot of words. Which isn't to say it's the only language Gaelic has borrowed words from. We've also borrowed straight from English and from Norse and from Latin. It's the 4 main people we've borrowed words from. But yeah, in basically every other respect, these two languages are not the same. Gaelic has the verb at the beginning of the sentence, Scots does not. Most of the stuff that you know about English, how English works as a language, can be transferred to Scots. One interesting difference between them. Now, British English and Australian English, but not, I heard recently, American English, have vowel length distinction, where, trying to think of a minimal pair, pit and peat differ in vowel length. Some argue also quality. They differ in vowel quality in American English. However, in Scots has a vowel length distinction, not for meaning, but varies vowel length depending on other factors like what consonants are around it. Gaelic very much does have vowel length distinction. So one of the very common pronunciation errors you find if a Scots speaker or an Anglophone Scottish person is learning Gaelic is that they don't pronounce the long vowels, and that's because Scots doesn't have vowel length distinction and Gaelic does. But yeah, I think I've pretty much covered the differences. Well, I haven't covered the differences. I could hand like a whole grammar book to you, and that would be the differences. But there you go. Not the same language, related but not closely. So, Keshjara and G. Second question today. Why are so many place names in lowland Scotland Gaelic in origin? If the lowland Scots didn't use Gaelic. A very popular thing for these anti-Gaelic haters that I mentioned in the last video to come up with is, it was never spoken here, because they're from the lowlands, and the only bit of Scotland that legitimately never spoke Gaelic is like Shetland and the Orkneys. So if you live in mainland Scotland, Gaelic was spoken here, basically. But it might have been a long time ago. It might have been 100 years ago. A lot of cases, people say it was never spoken here, and like legitimately, there was a native speaker who died there in the 50s that grew up there. In some cases, it was much longer ago than that. It might have been 300 years ago, 600 years ago, but Gaelic was at some point spoken in that part of Scotland, whatever part of Scotland it is. And that's why a lot of place names are Gaelic in origin, because these places were named by Gaels in Gaelic when these were Gaelic-speaking areas. And of course, the people currently living there may or may not be descended from Gaelic speakers, however many hundred years ago that was. But yeah, Lowland Scots, or at least people living in Lowland Scotland, absolutely did use Gaelic at some point in the past, and place name evidence is one of the reasons we know that. So, Kesh a 3. Would Scottish and Irish people speak Gaelic or English to each other, assuming both know Gaelic? Now, I did answer this question, I noticed on Quora a couple of years ago, and my answer to that remains yes, we usually do. But also assuming that we both know Gaelic, and whether we would stick at it for more than a few phrases each will also depend on the individual speakers, how fluent the individual speakers are, whereabouts in each country that person is from in terms of what dialect they speak, and also how much you want to be able to speak to each other. So for me, being in Australia, if I meet an Irish speaker, they're usually very keen to speak Irish to me because they don't get many opportunities to do that, even though me speaking Gaelic back to them might be difficult for them to understand, because like I need warm up if I'm going to be speaking Irish. If I'm not adequately warmed up into trying to speak Irish, what comes out is mostly Gaelic with an attempt at Irish, and it's just a horrific mess. So, but they will often be keen to try and speak Irish to me, even if I'm slightly difficult to understand for them, and more difficult than I would be to understand if I was speaking English and they were speaking English, just because opportunities to speak in Gaelic or speak in Irish are quite rare here. I think this is still basically true for people who live in Scotland and Ireland. Obviously, a lot of Scotland and Ireland don't speak the language, but you also see a lot of stuff on BBC Alba or on TG Cahill where they will be travelling to the other country, talking to people from the other country, and it will be done in Irish or in Gaelic or in both, where they're speaking different languages to each other because they are mutually intelligible. But yes, we absolutely, if I encounter an Irish speaker encounters a Gaelic speaker encounters an Irish speaker, we absolutely do try to speak the language to each other. Just because we can. So, Keshta Kehish is another one that'll be quite a long answer. What made you want to learn Gaelic? what I usually say, and it's as good an explanation as any, is that, well, I grew up in the Scottish expat community in Australia. I was aware that I was Scottish, and I was also aware of older people that I had something to do with them. Um, in my childhood, I saw them semi-regularly who were involved with Gaelic in one way or another, whether through the radio, usually through the radio. Um, so I was aware of that, but I didn't really think maybe I should learn this language until I went to the German school, which happened when I was 14, 13 or 14, uh, for reasons too complicated to get into right now. But all of a sudden, I was there one day a week, surrounded by people who spoke German as a first language. Um, and often they would say, no, I don't speak German anymore. I used to be able to 10 years ago. But they would say, ich spreche Deutsch, English, and mein Großmuttersprache. Großmuttersprache is my grandmother's language. And I would think, so I speak English and German, I don't speak my grandmother's language. And also, a lot of these people are Australians like me, whether they're first generation or whether their families have been in Australia longer. And they were able to be Australian and also speak another language at home, speak another two languages at home. And that basically is what made me think I really should speak my own language. So, happily, as I mentioned, I already knew older people in my area who spoke Gaelic and where to find other Gaelic speakers. So that was how I got started. I just sort of went along on a Tuesday morning, drank cups of tea, and gossiped to old people. But that's basically what made me want to learn Gaelic, is realizing that I didn't speak my own language, and realizing that and getting to know other people who were bilingual and spoke another language and also were still Australian. Okay, Kesh Gaelic. What is the Gaelic pronunciation of the words uisce beatha? There you go, uisce beatha. And that means water of life. It also means whiskey. So there you go. Kesh Shir. What are the most beautiful Gaelic names? Now, obviously, this is a very subjective question, so it's asked very categorically. What follows is my own opinion. I really like the name Fionnuala. Yet to convince my fiance that this would be a good name to name our child, because obviously Fionnuala is sort of really foreign sounding, difficult for English speakers to say, but I don't know. It's just a really pretty name to me. I'm trying to think of like a beautiful sounding Gaelic boy's name. It's Alistair, maybe? Yeah, other beautiful Gaelic names. Katrina. Katrina is a nice name as well. But yeah, that's there's some beautiful Gaelic names. Well, Shine, and that's fine. That's all the questions I had saved from Quora's Gaelic. But I'm going to assume that you're all enjoying Renich answers Quora's questions. It's difficult to say. And continue filming more episodes of this new segment from other sections of Quora. Yay! Anyway, Shiri and Drastic is Himish Vola and Achachking.